Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first virtual graduation celebrating the 9th cohort of CSH Speak Up Advocates. My name is Ann English. I lead a partnership between CSH and Neighbors with Lived Experience of Homelessness to create the necessary space for transformations in cultural norms. The Speak Up Advocates share personal stories to connect people and in so doing influence change at the policy and programming level. This cohort, like so many others, had to forego the in-person celebration that every other cohort has had. At the beginning of March, they were attending their final work groups and anticipating a May graduation. When it became clear that we would not be able to hold an in-person ceremony for many months, we began the task of reimagining the graduation on a virtual platform. It hasn't been easy, but the advocates and their incredible volunteer coaches have risen to the occasion. It's been a long few months. But more than ever, I am convinced of the importance and the immediacy to fight for the inclusion of the most marginalized voices, not only in these stages and events where they're able to tell their stories, but also as leaders in decision-making bodies, nonprofit boardrooms, and advocacy coalitions. The past several months have been hard, but for many, this moment emerges with the unassailable mandate that change must happen. I challenge all of us to listen to these stories and to carry them with us into all of our work and to hold ourselves and those around us accountable for investing in and truly centering the people we are serving. These are our partners, our neighbors, and they are the best chance we have to find effective solutions for ending homelessness. I want to take a quick moment to thank all of our wonderful volunteers and the amazing partner organizations who have supported Speak Up over the past 7 years. Our relationships with the Hilton Foundation, the United Way of Greater LA and the Everyone In campaign, Social Venture Partners Los Angeles, the Downtown Women's Center, and the Wells Family Foundation are critical components of the community we are creating together, where we imagine a world as a place where everyone belongs. Our program today is similar to past events. Our longtime friend, Speak Up volunteer and coach, Jason Friedman, will MC. He'll introduce each story coach, who in turn will introduce the advocate they were partnered with. But before Jason comes on, I want to introduce Amy Turk, the CEO of Downtown Women's Center. She's been a longtime ally of the work we're doing, to make a few opening remarks.
Good afternoon. I'm Amy Turk, the CEO of the Downtown Women's Center. The CSH Speak Up graduation is my hands down most favorite event to attend. Ann English can attest that when I know a graduation's around the corner, that I've already emailed her multiple times to make sure that I've saved the date on my calendar. This event fills my heart and gives me the energy it takes to do the work to end homelessness. The beautiful and awe-inspiring stories of the graduates inspire ideas for policy change. Many of you know graduates like Lorraine Cantley and Millie Brown. They were most recently on a panel at the CSH Summit talking about the importance of sharing their lived experience stories to affect policy change. And they lifted up leaders that are so good at hearing lived experience stories and hearing the policy solutions simultaneously. We see you, Molly Reisman, Bill Pitkin, Jerry Jones, and so many other leaders who have valued the voice of people with lived experience and effective positive change that have made a huge impact both locally in Los Angeles and nationwide. Today is especially dear to me because 3 women who are graduating today are also participants of the Domestic Violence Homeless Services Coalition Advocates Program. This coalition, started by the Downtown Women's Center in partnership with Rainbow Services, knew at the beginning and have stayed committed throughout to make sure that the voice of lived experience is at the forefront of every single thing we do. And we knew we had to partner with the Speak Up program so that we can build off the success of this program and help amplify it in our work to address the unique needs of survivors of trauma. Advocates of our program now sit on governing boards, steering committees, statewide commissions. They are program consultants, and they speak on panels, and they keynote at nationwide conferences. where historically the voice of lived experience has been relegated to surveys and comment boxes. Together, we know if you are here today, we are creating real seats at the table so that we affect change in the best way possible. Nothing with us without us, right? I'm so thrilled to be here tonight, and I'm so excited to hear the graduates, so let's get to it.
Welcome to the 9th graduating ceremony for the CSH Speak Up program. My name is Jason Friedman, and I get the honor and privilege to be your host for this ceremony. Two of my biggest passions in life are public speaking and helping in the battle to end people experiencing homelessness. When I first heard about this Speak Up program almost 7 years ago, I knew I needed to be part of it because it perfectly married my two passions in life. Today, you're in for a real treat because you get to see firsthand the hard work and courage that these graduating advocates have put into creating powerful stories. For this event, I'll be introducing the CSH coach, who will then introduce the graduating advocate that they had the opportunity to work with. Our first coach is an actress who works in film, television commercials, and theater. She's also a wife, mother of 2 young sons, and an advocate for mental health issues and rights. Please welcome Katia Ohada.
Before I met Tiffany Duvernay Smith, I had never heard of the warrior queen of Matamba. She was a fierce negotiator and strategist. She reigned for 37 years in the 1600s, and she actually saved her people from the encroaching Portuguese slave trade in the 1600s in what's now modern-day Angola for her entire reign. She is remembered as a hero and as the mother of Angola. Tiffany's told me how much she admires the warrior queen, and I mean, it's easy to see why. And I think they actually have a lot in common. Because a warrior has the courage and the strength to fight for herself, but a warrior queen has the presence of mind and the open heart to fight for others as well. My name is Katia Ohada. I am a CSH Speak Up coach, and it is my privilege to introduce to you a warrior queen of Los Angeles, Tiffany Duvernay Smith.
My name is Tiffany Duvernay Smith, and I believe in breaking patterns, cycles, and chains. I am a CSH Speak Up advocate, and I am happy to be sharing my story with you all today. I grew up right here in Los Angeles. I had a fantasy childhood. My mother, Phyllis, was a reservations agent for Trans World Airlines, and I traveled the entire world with her by the age of 10. My happy fantasy childhood came to an end when my phenomenal mother died unexpectedly just before my 12th birthday. Then I felt kidnapped when my father took me to Texas, away from the only place and family I'd ever known, to a home where I often felt unloved and unwelcome by him, my stepmother, and my sister. For all of my 20s, I had a stable life. I had my own car, my own apartment. I worked in corporate America for Fortune 500 companies. You know, money, numbers, and spreadsheets. I was heavily involved in my Bible and extremely active in my church. They were my family, and I felt great about my amazing relationship with God. Well, in 2006, at the age of 33, I began a relationship with a man who became my abuser. Of course, he was charming, but that slowly turned into manipulation, aggression, and verbal, intellectual, emotional, economic, spiritual, and physical abuse. I felt kidnapped again, this time from my church family and my relationship with God. In 2010, after years of dysfunction and a $100 rent increase, I lost my apartment. At the age of 36, I was homeless. I bounced around for 5 years, which included living in my car, sometimes staying with friends. I even stayed in an extended stay hotel for a short period of time when I can afford it. And at my lowest point, when I really had nowhere to go, I stayed with my abuser in his parents' garage without their knowledge or permission. When I finally tried to break up with him, we did a terrible back and forth dance for months. Tension, emotional outbursts, honeymoon, repeat. I realized I needed help. So here I am. I'm 38 years old, and I go into the Department of Social Services. This is in April of 2012, and I needed assistance with cash and food stamps. So I prayed for a woman. Thank God, that's exactly what I got. I was able to show her the bruises and scratches on my breast that I had from a tug-of-war with keys inside of my bra the night before. And through my tears, I told her I was afraid that I would end up dead or in prison on accident, even on purpose. I was determined to figure out why I chose this person, why I stayed so long, and how to never choose him again in another person. My doctor referred me to a depression therapist, who later referred me to a PTSD therapist with D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services. Prototypes helped me apply for housing, and 2.5 years later, I received a call from an apartment manager at a supportive housing complex, a community of friends. 4 months of paperwork, this is in 2015, my Valentine gift was the key to my very own apartment. I was able to breathe. I felt relieved. I felt grateful. My mind was clearer and freer. So instead of returning to corporate America, I decided to use my experience to help other people. So I'm a systems reform advocate. I focus on domestic violence, homelessness, mental health, and criminal justice reform. I have helped hundreds of elementary school children learn the game of chess. I tell my story to law enforcement officers during their crisis intervention training. I also work for a nonprofit organization that helps formerly incarcerated people start their own businesses. And I'm on the board of directors for a reentry organization. I work with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I do want to give you some dessert, okay? So the hot chocolate frosting dripping down the moist, delicious chocolate cake portion of my story happened in June 2017 on Crenshaw. I was advocating for housing for formerly incarcerated people. He was too. We began advocating together, studying our Bibles together, jumping waves in the ocean together. He happened to be all of my answered prayers in one person, and Thomas and I just celebrated 2.5 years of marriage. At the age of 43, after experiencing childhood trauma, an unhealthy relationship, mental health challenges, healing, and recovery, I finally had the healthy relationship I've been holding out for. I know that God Almighty led me to D.D. Hirsch to break the patterns of PTSD, to prototypes to break that cycle of domestic violence, and to supportive housing to break the chains of homelessness. I hope that while I was sharing my story, you heard the chains falling and noticed how valuable housing was for my recovery, my livelihood, and stability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tiffany, for that very personal story. Our next coach is an actor, writer, and community volunteer. He believes in bringing love, kindness, and passion and his faith to everything he does. Please welcome Jason Eccles.
Hi, I'm Jason Eccles, and I'm a CSH Speak Up coach. Over the past several months, I've had the great pleasure of getting to know, work with, and coach William Taylor III. William brought his big heart and positive energy to every meeting. I thank him for his insight and vulnerability to this very important work. I'm proud of him for his commitment and desire to use this platform to encourage others and to better understand this crisis that ultimately impacts us all. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you all William Taylor III.
Peace. How's everybody? William is my name. My friends call me Will, so please call me Will. I'm a CSH Speak Up advocate. I was homeless for 6 years because I couldn't afford housing. When you're homeless, you're constantly thinking about where will be a safe place to crash at night. Challenges like trying to figure out how to stay warm when it's cold or stay cool when it's hot and dry when it's raining. Even something as simple as finding and using the restroom is a big deal when you're homeless. Homelessness is ugly and dangerous. It's mentally, physically, and spiritually exhausting. Not being able to afford these basic needs led me to doing crime to survive. Crime led to my incarceration. I was a 3 strikes offender, and I was incarcerated for 18 years and 1 day on a 25 to life sentence for a non-violent offense. I was released from prison on a 3 strikes initiative bill, which allowed non-violent offenders to be released due to an overcrowded prison system. I was ordered by the courts to live in a reentry program for 1 year. I knew that my stay in the reentry program by the court was for only 1 year, and I kept reminding myself, I have to do whatever it takes so I won't be homeless when leaving the program. A reentry program is a center that helps provide temporary service for formerly incarcerated people. Services like food, shelter, clothing, and connections for other outreach programs while you're living in the reentry program. I became aware of resources that were available for housing and other basic needs after 7 months of living in a reentry program, and I was able to move into my own apartment. Imagine with me for a moment. After 6 years of homelessness, 18 years and 1 day of incarceration, and 7 months living in a reentry program, I was walking into my own apartment for the first time. All I could think of was, at last, comfort for me. At last, I had a place to sleep. At last, to keep me warm, to keep me cool, to keep me dry. At last, I could relax. At last, I was safe. It was like winning the mega lottery and finally a dream coming true. I was so grateful and thankful for the opportunities and resources that I was blessed with. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Our next coach is a Northwestern University trained actor whose heart is bursting with gratitude for the opportunity to use his storytelling skills in social advocacy work. A Chicago theater transplant, he's been working in the TV and film industry in his chosen home of Los Angeles for the past 6 years. He's really enjoyed working with the Corporation for Supportive Housing to empower individuals and be part of the conversation on homelessness in Los Angeles. Please welcome Michael DeMarco.
Hi, my name is Michael DeMarco, and I am so proud to be Lena Katz's CSH Speak Up coach. Over the last 12 months, I've had the pleasure of working with Lena. It's been an absolute honor getting to hear her story of resilience and strength and watch her dedication and determination for self-empowerment. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Lena Katz.
The biggest assumption about homelessness is that homeless people are lazy and refuse to work, when the truth is they have lost all hope. Hi, my name is Lena Katz and I'm a CSH Speak Up advocate. I was born in 1988, Leningrad, Russia, now known as St. Petersburg. This was during the time of the great collapse of Soviet Union. My mother Anna lacked the tools to raise me all on her own and struggled to provide the love, care, and life lessons to become independent. Additionally, my home country, unlike the US, closed its eyes on violence, oppression, domestic and child abuse. I was a victim of such abuse at the hands of my mother and her husband. When I was 12 years old, we immigrated to the United States. My stepfather was afraid of going to prison, so he became very conscious about not leaving any visible bruises on my body when he whipped me. Instead, my oppressor started to verbally, sexually, and mentally manipulate me into submission with my mother's silent consent. Afraid to return home each day from school, my abusive upbringing gave me feelings of guilt and shame, which manifested in depression and lack of motivation in school. So instead of homework, I escaped into the world of fiction books and expressed my trauma through writing poetry. But my cultural conditioning and my parentage followed me long into adulthood. In 2017, I still found myself being dependent on my parents and an inconvenience to my mother. We struggled to get along, and when we couldn't reconcile, she served me with a restraining order. I was hurt, but grateful for her actions to take my chances with becoming homeless and sleeping in a shelter. When I left, I was overwhelmed by a huge sense of belief in the universe and trust that everything was going to work itself out. I had no belongings, but that meant I had a blank slate to start from. I discovered a couple of amazing organizations, including the Center in Hollywood, where I got introduced to my caseworker Syria, who got me into supportive housing in Koreatown within just half a year. The center's wellness programs, community, therapy, Kundalini yoga, and advocacy taught me how to cope with my trauma. Community teaches how important it is to build human connection, to end isolation. Through therapy, I've come to admit that there might be something wrong with my mental health, and it's okay to get help. Kundalini yoga taught me how to train my body, mind, and spirit through endurance, stamina, and perseverance, so my spirit will never be broken again. Advocacy gave the courage and the bravery to use my voice to stand up today and tell you my story. Having supportive housing gives me the stability to discover who I am. I would like to advocate for more community, education, and wellness programs provided within supportive housing. I want to thank my mother who gave me life. She's human and fought for our survival every day, fearing it might be our last. Having supportive housing gives me hope and opportunity to live a happy and healthy life. Being human means I make mistakes, but I am able to learn new lessons from them and discover my full potential and my high purpose. Being a leading example to others to find their voice and to better themselves too. I am proud without a single regret or shame for each experience lived. And I'd love to close by reading this poem, hoping one voice will make a difference. There's a certain level of ignorance rests beyond human eyes. There's a big difference between knowledge and being wise. Individual perception, truth, experience, and lies, and altogether they evenly collide. For wisdom means knowledge being applied. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena, for your courage to share your story with us today. Our next coach is an actor, improviser, crafter, and is a second-time coach for CSH Speak Up. She's seen the value of service and advocacy exemplified by her grandmother, Marilyn, her mother-in-law, Mary Farrell. She loves her cat, Wednesday, although Wednesday clearly prefers her husband, Josh. Please welcome Kirsten Farrell.
Our next speaker has really kept me on my toes. That's because from the time she was this age, Tommy could see through some BS. She always keeps it real, and she prizes honesty over comfort. Tommy's words run deep, and I could fill notebooks with the significance contained within just a few words from her. She is one of the youngest members of the CSH family, and at 4'9", she might come in one of the smallest packages. But like her words, Tommy's small frame is bursting with light, depth, and wisdom. Tommy shared with me in an interview about a time when she felt she couldn't care about things.
I was homeless then, and it was life. Homeless was life. Homeless was just life. I didn't see all these bright ass colors.
Now, not only can Tommy see the bright ass colors, she's shining her own bright light so that the rest of us can see. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Tamaris Hills.
I'd never seen a blue sky or the sunshine as bright as it was on June 30th of 2017. I never had a space for me, myself, and I till June 30th of 2017. I had my first apartment where I didn't hear demands or hear death at 2 a.m. over territory. I must have inhaled, exhaled, and inhaled again. I was off the streets. From the time I was a baby till 2 years old, I don't know where I was or who I was with. But from 2 to 18, I was taken in by an aunt who I was forced to call mother. Because my birth mother was around, but she was never really there. I was told as a baby I had an attitude. That attitude was a protective instinct I had to learn and carry throughout my childhood. Now I see the actions I took when I was younger was just me being a kid and trying to get through life with what tools I had. Teachers, case managers, family, people who were supposed to hear me didn't actually hear me. They would use what they heard to hurt me, and that wasn't cool. So I played it as safe as I could till I had a mental shutdown, physical breakdown, and without warning, homelessness became my main thing. One day I overheard a call between my aunt and my birth mother. My aunt was saying she didn't want me around. My birth mother was saying she can't stand me. I don't know how she thought that when she didn't even know me. The couch surfing began. Angry words, threats, demands started coming my way. This was real. I was homeless, on and off for 3 years till I finally called the Union Rescue Mission. Because when you're homeless, you're always letting go of something or someone. because everything is temporary. Or they're letting go of you. Being homeless, you just feel unwanted and unloved. There was a caseworker at the Union Rescue Mission who figured out that I had been part of the foster care system, and that made me eligible for a spot at a transitional housing place for youth, Covenant House. Covenant House had a bed ready for me there if I wanted it. So I took that. No double back. That caseworker, he was not soft with me. He was very demanding and very, very helpful. So I thought people really do mean good in this world of weirdos. Then one day, as years go by, I got a call. And would you look at that? I got a call about my own place, a unit that was ready for me to move in. I was so happy and so blessed. I didn't cry, but I was blessed. I was strong. I was blessed. But right after that, my blessings wasn't over. God blessed me. He blessed me with a mentor. Selena, aka Cece, who does more for me than she can ever know. She listens to me, relates to me. She makes me laugh, like laugh. When I tell you, I never thought old people could be so funny. Besides all that, she was real about hers and real about whoever she was mentoring, whatever she had to do for her job. She was very, very serious. She taught me that when you make a mistake, mistakes happen. And there's not always a quick bounce back, but that you will bounce back and probably even stronger. See, my path isn't as smooth, though. It's less crooked than before. Now when I have trouble, there are people there for me. Psychiatrists, therapists, case managers. These people are the supportive part of supportive housing. These are the people who are there for me now. Our purposes collide to bring stability and healing, and also bring closure to those people who are out there that are hurt. So I just want to say, I love you guys so much. You guys have prepared me for this day. I know it wasn't as visible at the time, but now I see exactly where we were trying to go. I'm Tommy. I'm a CSH Speak Up advocate, and our work will make change with faith and one day at a time. That's on who? That's on what? Child, that's on period.
Thank you, Tommy. Our next coach is a proud father to his son, Parker. He's also an actor and writer based in Los Angeles. He said that being able to work with and learn from the advocates has been a gift he never would have expected, and it's been an honor to volunteer with the CSH program. Please welcome Kevin Logie.
Hi, I'm Kevin Logie. I'm a CSH Speak Up coach. I've had the honor of working with the next speaker for the last few months, and I don't have enough time or space to say all the amazing things that I want to about him because he's incredible. From the moment I met him, I was impressed. There wasn't anything I thought I could help him with because he seemed so well put together, and I was not let down. He is direct, he is honest, he is emotionally connected, and he is so ready and willing to share his story that it's such an inspiration to me. And every time we did get together, it always ended with the best hug because we were real and raw and emotional, and I am so honored to hear him give his speech today. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Scott Edens.
My name is Scott and I'm a CSH Speak Up advocate. I was 18 years old in 3 days when I first met homelessness. It was a Saturday, and it was the first taste I'd ever really had of truly being alone. I had my friends, but 18-year-old friends can only support you so much. I was living in a rundown trailer, and I spent 2 years there. So eventually I joined the U.S. Army and became a soldier. I was damn good at it too. I was trusted by my brothers, which probably meant the most. We went through a lot. Blood, sweat, and definitely tears. And some of them didn't come home. And even some of those that did come home never really came home. I got out of the Army. I had no idea that what I had gone through would affect me so much. And it took a while, months, years, and I'm still going through it, I think. It's still happening. I'm going through stuff, going back, trying to understand what that all meant. But we were there for each other, and we still are. But unfortunately, I found drinking. But I found my way home. I managed to fake the funk. I didn't think I was faking it, but I was. I was living to party, I was living to get away. And I think that's the key part. I was living to get away. Because the pain of living 2 years as a homeless child, and the pain of living as a soldier for 4, and having to face the inherent realities therein, it was having an effect on me. I was working hard, I had a lot of good stuff going on, and the best thing that ever happened in my life, the best thing I should say, that ever came into my life was my dog Scout. It was a beautiful black Labrador that was born in a small apartment, in a small closet, in a small room that I'd rented above a bar in Montrose. I was there when he opened his eyes, and I was there when he closed his eyes. But what he got me through, what he did was he kept me alive, and he loved me. So loving and so beautiful. He was there when I became homeless again. It's now the second time. I wasn't able to stay at my place. I lost all 3 jobs in a month, and I had to look after Scout. I had to find new work. I had nowhere to go to keep him. But there he was, sleeping in the back, halfway in and out of his water bowl because he didn't have room for him to sleep. And there was me trying to make it all go away for at least a couple hours by downing a cheap bottle of vodka. I tried to stay in the know. I kept clean, stayed awake, wanted to succeed. I wanted to do well in life and make an impact. I just couldn't get rid of the ghosts. Scout somehow made the ghosts not so scary. I was there 2 more years of homelessness. I ended up finding a shelter or 2, which was helpful, but Christmas was hard. There we were, looking through the windows at the people and the children with their family meals, their packages under the tree, and the children playing with their toys, and Scout and I standing out in the rain and in the cold. No one to wish us a Merry Christmas and give me a warm hug or a special toy or a bone for Scout to make us feel special. We were completely alone and feeling unworthy and embarrassed to even be around family, feeling that everyone else was around their tree and that everyone else had somewhere to go to. It was really just me and him, but he never let me down, and God never left me. He kept me going, he kept me fed, and miracles here and there would occur. Things that I can't really explain. All I can say is now that they did. I still remember when we got our voucher, when we got our own place with a yard for Scout to run and play. Scout passed away on May 27th of 2019. It was a Wednesday, and I still think about him every day. You cannot think about someone that's been with you so much, to that extent. He was the only one that really made me feel like I was worth something in the world. People, through no fault of their own, sometimes don't allow you to feel that way. All I know is that I didn't. But if it wasn't for my affordable housing, I wouldn't be here. And now I work. I worked to honor Scout. I worked to honor my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ, who paved a way through all the turmoil, all the pain. He wiped the tears from my face, and he carried me. So I went back into the pit I suffered in for so long, to show others the way out. I now do homeless street outreach. I've been doing it for close to 3 years now, but it can't stop there. You've got to let people know that what you see on the outside isn't just a fraction of the story there. I decided to tell my story because the pain was just too big. It hurt too much not to tell. People need to understand that there's more to it. There's more to people, and that people fall into pits sometimes, because life just takes us there. But it doesn't mean that we give up on them. We need to try and get them out, and we need to show them the way. God showed me the way by showing Scout the way, and I'm trying to show others the way. And these stories need to be told, all of them. They need to be told because they're important. This is history. This is our history. What we do now will define how we are seen tomorrow. Did we step over people while they suffer? Or did we shout together with one voice and say, no more? It's time to stop looking away and act.
Thank you, Scott, for that touching story. And more importantly, Scott, thank you for the years of service and sacrifice that you've made for our country. Our next coach is a storyteller and freelance writer who's worked on behalf of nonprofit and community organizations for 20 years. A Long Beach resident, her favorite places to be are with her sweet guys, husband Dave, and sons Nate and Owen. She loves family time, laughing, beach runs, live theater, the Dodgers, and wine. In that order. Please welcome Vicki Whipple.
Hi, my name is Vicki Whipple, and I'm so proud of the work we've done with CSH this year. I was partnered with Alicia Rodin. I knew right away that I liked Alicia. What I learned over the course of the year working with her on this story is that she's also hilarious, strong, has more grit than anyone I've ever met, and I have learned more from her than I could ever teach. So it is my sincere pleasure to introduce all of you to Alicia.
Hello, my name is Alicia Rodin. I'm a CSH advocate. I'm happy to be at my graduation today, and I want to tell you a bit about my story. I hated being a minister's daughter. Couldn't play, couldn't dance, can't. And everybody was looking at me. And I had 28 siblings. The only type of infection that we received was harsh beatings. So what did I do? I got married. I married somebody who was 13 years older than me. He had a car, he had a job, and I thought he was Prince Charming. Soon after, he started beating me. But there was nothing I could do because the Bible says, honor your husband. I must have done something because he was beating me. And the Bible says, and also sometimes I hit back. And also divorce was out of the question. I left Kalamazoo. They sent me to a shelter in Los Angeles, but I was told you can't stay there because you have HIV. Back then it was thought as a gay disease, but I didn't know how I got it. They put me in a hospice. They put my daughters in foster care. One of my daughters said, Mom, if you die, I'll die too. That gave me motivation and to get a Section 8. I started looking for Section 8. I did get a Section 8. But it was hard. They considered you lazy. There was labels. But I wasn't lazy. I went on to college. I got a college degree. I received my bachelor's in social work. Guess I'm not done. Most of all, I learned I'm nobody's label. I'm not Section 8's label. I'm not anybody's label. And you know what? I'm not even HIV's label. I am me, Alicia Rodin. Thank you very much for listening to the minister's daughter.
Thank you, Alicia. And now to introduce our final graduating advocate. Please welcome back her coach, Kirsten Farrell.
When I think of Susan Kolkowitz, I think of balance. Susan has a fierce work ethic, but a gentle approach. She speaks up for herself and for others, but she draws you in quietly. Susan is a writer who can spin out brilliant ideas at lightning speed, but she's also a merciless editor who cuts right to the heart of the matter. Susan balances humility with an inner confidence that holds her together and holds her up. Susan shared with me that when she hears other people tell their stories, she often hears songs, and she even has a couple songs for her own story. One of them is Ken Jazz's music video version of a song by Andy Mineo. And that's when I got my courage back. I started remembering that as long as I'm alive, as long as there's breath in my lungs, I've still got a chance. See, I ain't done till I say I'm done. And guess what? I ain't done. It is my honor to introduce Susan Kolkowitz. And let me tell you, from what I've seen, she's just getting started.
It's 9 p.m. and my storage unit is about to close. I feel a growing sense of dread, and I check my backpack, my pants pockets, my jacket pockets, making sure I have the essentials. I visit the restroom, then I slip out the front gate, heading south on Sawtell toward Venice Boulevard, where I get on the first bus of the first leg of a long night of riding the bus. And each night I would find myself looking up at the windows of the apartment buildings surrounding me, and I'd see blue flickering lights from TVs. I'd see shadows against the closed blinds as people moved from room to room. And it was heart-wrenching for me. Why do all these people get to be safe and inside and not me? And at 56 years old, how is it possible that I have no home and nowhere to go? But I have to choke back all that pain because I have a whole night of surviving to do, and I can't do it with tears in my eyes. My name is Susan Kolkowitz, and I'm a CSH Speak Up advocate. And 6 years ago, that was my reality. Before experiencing homelessness, I'd been successful. I worked a 6-figure job. I had a lovely place on the west side and a sapphire blue Acura. But after 3 years of domestic violence, everything changed. He'd already taken all my money, my jewelry, along with the sense of myself as a capable, valued person. And when he was taken into police custody, I was left homeless. I was left alone and outside, trying to figure out how to survive. I was overwhelmed and needed help. The only benefit program I'd ever heard of was food stamps. So I Googled it and found that I could get them from the Department of Public Social Services, or DPSS as it's known. And I went there, and the same day I left with today's version of food stamps, or electronic benefits transfer, EBT card. 4 weeks later, general relief kicked in, and together it wasn't very much, but it took the edge off the desperation of my situation. Then I was referred by DPSS to the Edelman Westside Mental Health Center. I didn't realize, I guess, how traumatized I'd been because I'd been so focused on just surviving. I was assigned a case manager, Sarah, who was direct but warm, and she was confident that finding a home for me was doable. I would walk out of my visits with her a little bit stronger, a little more like Susan. And through her, I began seeing a psychiatrist and started attending a weekly Seeking Safety group for domestic violence survivors. And she found me an emergency bed at Daybreak Shelter in Santa Monica. It only lasted for 14 days, but the services that I received sustained me through the rest of my homelessness. So by November, I'd been living outside for 365 days. I was considered chronically homeless, and I was finally eligible for housing assistance, and I was accepted into Daybreak's interim housing shelter. And I felt so incredibly grateful to have a safe place to sleep every night. Well, I stayed at Daybreak for almost 5 months, and then on March 15th, 2015, I took everything out of my storage unit and moved into permanent supportive housing, my new home. Permanent supportive housing was where I could start to reclaim the pieces of my life, where I again started to feel confident and capable, and like a person who contributes to the world. I'm now a certified mental health advocate. I'm an advocate with the Domestic Violence Homeless Services Coalition, and I'm employed by the Downtown Women's Center. I have found that the things that caused me the most pain and the most shame became, through advocacy, the most shame reducing and healing. And that allows me to focus on helping those still outside, those still suffering, still waiting. Please continue to support and fight for programs like permanent supportive housing and new solutions like rapid rehousing for domestic violence survivors. I'm here as proof that they work, that they lift people up, that they turn lives around. These programs provide the foundation for people to not only survive the trauma they've experienced, but to heal, to connect, and to move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. This concludes our 9th CSH Speak Up graduation. I would like to congratulate all of the advocates and thank them for speaking up, because their voices matter. You are each an inspiration and a reminder that all of our voices matter. There's an important election coming up, and we need your voices to be heard. So please vote. And if you're in LA County, please vote for Measure J to reimagine LA as a place that prioritizes community investment over incarceration. It's been an honor and a privilege to be your MC for this event. Please stay healthy, stay safe, and please speak up.